This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, I'm Ryan Alford, your co-host, joined by my friend, my business partner, and one of the best dudes on the planet, Chris Hansen, down to the Vacay Lounge. What's up, Chris?
Doing great, especially with an intro like that.
Hey, man, you are. But you know what? We might have one that we got a one-upper in the crowd. I know it. I know it when I see it. He's the original walk-on. Founder of Dream Recovery. He's a speaker, health and wellness investor, and, just seems like a hell of a nice guy. Todd Anderson. What's up, Todd?
I try to be. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I don't know, man. Chris is setting the bar high, so I'll just take a back seat to him.
Oh, man, he's the salt of the earth. So, but talking to you,
not many of those down in Miami. I'll tell you that. So you're one of the few.
He's a true fish out of the water.
Yeah, definitely.
Todd, in old Nashville. I know that's the new home. How are things going these days?
I love it here, man. The community, the mindset, especially from a wellness perspective, people are very healthy and wellness oriented. Well, it's a little, either they're really healthy, wellness oriented, or they're really not. They're down on Broadway every night. So it's one or the other. But it's been amazing, like the community and meeting people. And, I think as far as values and what I value in my life, it's really reflective of that.
Were you or are you a country music fan?
So I grew up in a super small town. I mean, we had a bring your tractor to school day. So I'm talking, we didn't have a stoplight. We had a blinking red light. So I grew up a big country music fan. When I lived in Miami and New York, it definitely fell off a little bit, but it's been reignited for sure moving here. And I also feel like country music's kind of like had a, big comeback, way more mainstream. I mean, guys like Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs, those guys have like really taken it to another level. And I feel like everybody's kind of jumping on board. Beyonce had that song come out that's kind of country. So
Post Malone is freaking country.
He's coming out with a country album. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm actually pretty hyped for that. I bet it'll be a bang.
It will, man, because he's just such a great producer and knows how to make hits that it doesn't matter.
Actually, I just saw him. He was at a restaurant like 2 weeks ago in Nashville. So I'm not sure what he's doing.
Rubbing shoulders with all his producers. And, he's learning all their tricks to layer on his, and it'll be a banger, I'm sure.
I'm excited.
Cool, man. Let's set the table for everyone. I gave a little bit away with the walk-on mention, but let's just set the table for your backstory and, what got you so passionate about the wellness business and everything in general.
Yeah. So, I walked down to Michigan State to play football, and that really is where it sparked. I would say it even started earlier where, I was an overweight kid. Like, I was not in good shape, and I was always insecure about, I'd make up excuses for reasons I couldn't come to a pool party. I would almost dread summer because of that. So when I started working out and lifting, and I started to feel better, look better, I got really involved and just poured my heart and soul into that. And then through sport, I was always, playing a bunch of sports. When I got the opportunity to walk on and kind of live a dream in Michigan State, I feel like I had to squeeze every single ounce of potential and talent out of myself because everyone else around me was so much better. So, I was doing research, reading studies, in college and in my 18, 19 years old, trying to just get an edge any way possible. And that just continued to flourish, like when I was with the Rams, and then afterwards to where I am now. But, as those studies grew and I learned more and more, like sleep, it started off as just this like subtle undertone. But the more data that came out, the more I learned about it. It really is either making you better or making you worse. And when I started speaking to people on this, and I would see like what massive impact someone changing their sleep had, even in like mental health perspective, relationships, obviously performance. It was like moving. It was moving, and it was very fulfilling to just have such a positive impact. So I kind of poured my life's work into sleep specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes we make things so damn hard. Like we want it to be complicated. Right? What is it? What are the keys to success? How do we feel better? You just sleep, damn it.
Yeah, seriously. And people don't realize too, like I think in the business world, there's still like, the startup bro culture of like,
Hustle
rise
culture.
and grind. Yeah, the hustle culture is crazy, but people don't realize even like the impacts that sleep has on an organization from a leadership perspective. Like there's studies showing that there's direct relationships between the hours a CEO gets and the trust and safety the entire organization employees feel. Like, so very rarely in that world is it really talked about and bought into, but I think, times are changing, and eventually over the next couple of years, people will realize it should be a priority of any organization, not just sports teams and athletes, literally anyone trying to move together and achieve a goal. If you're not sleeping well, things are going to be harder and more complicated.
Yeah. And, I came up in the ad agency business in the mecca. I wouldn't call it the, madman world, but it was definitely the world of, wear it on your sleeve. Like, did you pull an all-nighter like that last night, man? How long did you work this weekend on the campaign, man? Like, you weren't working hard unless you weren't sleeping.
Right. It's like a badge of honor. I feel like that's like the Wall Street world, like law firms, like especially New York. It's just,
I was in Manhattan
it's like
at the time.
more is better. Oh yeah. Manhattan. That's like the home of all of that mentality.
I know. Luckily though, I think, with companies like yours, guys like you, and a lot of the, light that's being shined on the importance of, because I think what got missed in all of that, and I know you can speak to this, but like, okay, it's one thing to be tired and not be performing at your best, but all the other illnesses and trauma and everything else that lack of sleep causes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, from a longevity perspective is, in that culture, that hustle culture, it's like everyone seems to be racing towards money, right? That's a general theme. But who cares how much money you have when you're 50 years old and you're deteriorating, potential neurodegenerative diseases, dementia, Alzheimer's? Like you're increasing the risk of all these horrible things when you're racing to get this thing that usually people look to enjoy during those years. So it doesn't make any sense, really. If you're in the business world and you're trying to make a bunch of money, obviously the point is to enjoy it and do things and experiences that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And when you're not taking care of yourself, you might not have the chance to do that. And you're definitely not going to feel as good as you wish. My buddy always says, Jesse always talks about, like, if you had $10 billion tomorrow, but you had a sore throat, right? The only thing you can think about is that sore throat, because that's all that matters. And so like when you look at people that are killing themselves to make all this money, well, if they don't feel good, if they feel like shit when they're 50, 55 years old, it's not going to matter, because that's all they're going to be focused on, is trying to feel better.
Yeah. I mean, I'd hate to be morbid, but ask Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
Perfect
that's an example.
Made the furthest thing. And I don't know that his had to do with sleep per se, but talking about all the wealth, all the knowledge, all the stuff, the most valuable company in the world. And if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah. And with his situation, like probably totally out of his control, and who knows the causes of that, but there are tons of diseases that have just as big of impact that can be prevented or at least minimized by sleeping well, that people overlook and they don't realize what they're doing to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about where did the walk-on mentality come from for you? Like, what was that? Just nature, nurture, or just how you're built?
Yeah, I mean, if this was a therapy session, I would go way back to my childhood probably. And when I was growing up, there was my best friend, his name was Lucas. Like, he was probably the most elite middle school athlete of all time. Just like 6 foot tall, could dunk a basketball, and I was always chasing him. So I always felt like I had this chip on my shoulder, and I was never quite good enough, and always had to really work for everything I had. And so high school, that continued, but I kept, like, I had that chip. So I was putting in someone's work and everybody else. Like, so maybe genetically in the beginning, I didn't quite have the same talent, or it didn't come as easy. But when you stack up those wins and you stack up that work year after year after year, all of a sudden your pace is kind of exponential and outpaces everyone around you. So, every situation I've been in, I've been lucky, a blessing and a curse. I think I put myself in situations that's probably out of my reach, probably not quite ready for, even after football. But then you adapt, and I think that's that's what the mentality is about. Some people, I think, when they talk about walk-ons, they think about people showing up and basically having the confidence to walk in and know you're as good as anyone, you come in contact with. And for me, that it's not really like that at all. I think it actually reflects, like, if you're doing the right things, you're probably going to feel the opposite. You're going to feel like maybe I don't belong here, and you're gonna have to earn your place. And I think that's the reminder for me, is like, you're going to have to earn your place. You're going to feel like you don't belong. But if you show up enough and you're around that situation enough, you're going to adapt. And then one day you're going to look around and it's going to feel as comfortable as ever.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest, dude. Like, I love that. But like, looking at you, man, you're kind of like the model of not the underdog. I mean that in the most, like,
complimentary.
Yeah, complimentary heterosexual way possible. But like, also as a happily married man. But like, I'm just saying, you kind of look.
I appreciate it. I'm telling you, if you saw me when I was 16 years old, you would not think that.
Yeah, if I looked up not an underdog, I feel like I'm going to see a picture of Todd Anderson. No.
Well, I appreciate that, but hey, maybe I'm creating that in my mind. It keeps that chip in my
shoulder. I think
you're
manifesting what you've always believed. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. The exterior is now reflecting what you always felt on the inside.
Yeah. Well, trust me, a couple bad weeks of eating the exterior can go away pretty quickly. I gained 12 pounds in 6 days on my honeymoon, so I'm constantly fighting that battle for sure.
Impressive.
As a 46-year-old man, I'll tell you, you'll be fighting it,
Yeah,
I
know.
I work out 6 days a week, and it's just not exactly the same when I eat what I want to eat.
There's one thing, if there's one thing in the health and wellness world, like, I truly don't think we have figured out, it's weight loss and maintaining a healthy weight. Like, even Peter Attia talks about, if you spend time with someone that is substantially overweight, most people are not eating that many more calories than someone to the healthy weight. Like, there's stuff that's still happening that we really don't have our science wrapped around and have a stronghold. Like, there's enough, and I think there's protocols and there's like data support how to like move your weight around. But as far as like on the genetic level, exactly what's going on, and some people are so much more prone to gaining weight. Hopefully the next 10 years we can really dial in, because man, people suffer, and I've seen people just put in so much time and effort and not get the return that most people would. And that sucks. It's hard to watch.
Yeah. And now, it's just like, can we come up with another drug?
Yeah. It's a weird world. Weird times right now with the whole Ozempic and weight loss drug. I think a lot of people are on them. Like,
a lot.
Yeah.
Especially down in Miami.
My sister sells it, and I have a med spa. I'm about to start doing it. It's definitely very, and even there, I know there's a lot of health implications with that, so.
But I have a friend, even though that I actually like recommended to try, because on the flip side, she going to a birthday party, she's crying, getting dressed because she's gained weight, and she's tried everything. It's been years of struggle. And I'm like, I don't, all those side effects or whatever the cost, like, is not worth feeling like that one more day. So I think when you've exhausted a lot of options, like that, it's amazing for the right place, time, people. So at least I think it's a good thing, right step in the right direction, but obviously probably going to get abused pretty quickly as soon as anything else new comes out.
I look at it like it's like hormone therapy in a way. Like,
yeah, that's a compare. I mean, it is technically.
I'm pro TRT and all that, and exactly for the reason you said. Same with aesthetics. If someone can emotionally feel better, I think it can jumpstart them on a healthier path. So
yeah, totally, who cares? Like, who am I to judge? Whatever makes you feel better, man. Like, go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the people that are like at a super healthy or low weight that's like, I want to lose 3 pounds, like in Mean Girls, and then that's the ones that are going to be in a bad spot.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, then you get into the side effects. I mean, it's one thing if you're overweight and you need your health would benefit more from losing that weight than whatever minor side effects. But then it's those taking on the side effects that should never, be on. I don't know. But I agree. I mean, if there's something that makes you feel better, I mean, it's the American way. I mean, you can try it, but I think a lot of what we're trying to shine the light on is, the alternative side of wellness. Yeah. And
well, it's kind of like the body is always like, it's similar to like drinking or sleeping. It's like, okay, if you're going to have an extra good time or stay up late, you're almost pulling from that next day, right? And like the body always balances out. So if that's happening, like it's going to make up for it somewhere, some way. There's never just a cheat code. So I think people need to understand that. Yeah. But it can be great sometimes to build momentum. That's important.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in everything in life. It's an interesting comment.
Yeah, literally.
Like you're always you got to pay the piper at some point when you're making bad choices.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It's just sometimes we don't know where it's coming from.
Talk to us about some of the coaching and conditioning training and all that sort of stuff that you got into and, how that's been going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've worked with tons of athletes and stuff. And so my wife is a 2-time Olympian in swimming. And so we have a company that we work with a ton of teams and really high level programs all over the U.S. And in the U.S., really elite swimmers, they swim for club teams as opposed to like high school teams. It's a weird culture. It's not kind of like soccer in a way. Mm. And so, we work with all these athletes and really, like you're saying, we try to support everything from a health wellness perspective, like holistically outside the pool. And we talk about things like mental health, sleep, recovery, and mindset surrounding being a high performing athlete, because I think there's a big opportunity, and you're only an athlete for a few hours of the day when you're on the field. And so it's been really cool to work with people and a little bit of a different angle than most strength conditioning coaches. We do your regular strength conditioning stuff. It's all app based, and we try to get out to teams a couple times a year to visit, but it's been cool. And then Olympic trials is this year. So I'll have quite a few athletes, there, and my wife and Missy Franklin, who is our podcast co-host, they'll have a spot in the press box, and it'll be cool to see some athletes. Like when you're working with them for a long, that's what's wild about the Olympic sports. It's like they've been working for 4 years, so it'll be cool to see the outcomes of that.
So it's all swimmers that you guys work with.
Yeah, I've worked with almost any sport like throughout the last 10 to 15 years, but primarily now swimmers. And then sometimes, if like a pro has some sleep specific stuff, I'll work with them. For the most part, I don't do one-on-one stuff unless it's someone, that is a special request or something like that.
Yep. How are swimmers wired different?
They are and they aren't. I think that they don't know any different, but I don't think they honestly realize how hard some things are. Like, you're just literally doing the same thing over and over and harder and harder. Like in football, there was or baseball even, there's fun parts. Batting practice is fun. Like you're not dreading every single thing, like warming up, catching balls. Like there's fun parts.
Yeah.
Swimming, practice is literally just swimming. Like I don't know how they do it. I have a ton of respect for them, but like you said, I think they're definitely wired different.
I have 2 boys that do it at a high level. They're young. They're 7th grade and 8th grade, but they both are really good swimmers and, fairly high in the state. And I was a swimmer when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, they got into basketball, and then I was sayonara. But I admire them and keep them in it. It's number one, it's great for them, but the repetitiveness and just their willingness to just keep turning that lap. There's something about that with the discipline and the approach. Like you said, there's nothing, you're not drawing like this. No. One more lap will be more fun. There's just, it's just one more lap.
No one wants to do more. But sometimes in other sports, you're like, oh, I'd like to, on your own time, you're like, oh, I want to go play catch, hit some ball. No, you're not going to be like, oh, I'd love to just get in the pool and just bang out laps for 2 hours. Nobody's doing that. It's crazy. But yeah, it's a unique sport, and they're going every day. People don't take days off. It's wild. My wife was 14 when she made her first Olympic team, which I can't even wrap my head around. Thinking about when I was 14, right. I was literally am I going to get a date to the dance? That was my main priority. Not getting made fun of at school. And then, my wife is out doing Oprah and the Today Show. It's man, I can't even fathom that.
How's it by? So Katie Hoff, your wife, 2-time Olympian. Yeah. How has it been? You mentioned some of your opposites and things. I think it may have been pre-episode, but how's it been working with your wife?
I mean, there's pros and cons. She's relentless. Like you said, swimmers are wired different, which is great until it's like about you taking out the trash or something. Then, you wish it, but no, it's been cool. I mean, I think that we have such different like strengths and weaknesses, and we've been married for now, 8 years. So we know each other so well that the way we operate really just easily falls into place. We work really well together. And I actually think too, we do travel a lot for different things, speaking, whatever it may be. And it's cool because like, maybe half of that travel we're able to do together because of similar circumstances, or like we're working together on something, which if that wasn't the case, I think it'd be a lot harder, because you just wouldn't see each other a lot. So that part I'm very grateful for. And, it really feels like you're in it together when some of your business and your success rides on each other.
Yeah, I'm sure. Come on, Todd, take out the trash, Todd.
Yeah, no, it's persistent for sure. Just lap after lap, like that repetitiveness just translates to other things like the trash that happened this morning. That's why I bring that up.
My wife is not an Olympic champion or / Olympian, but she still gets on me too.
Maybe she missed her calling. Maybe she had the mentality there. Maybe this was a physical limitation thing.
Oh yeah, she's a principal in a middle school. One of the only females in the state of South Carolina is a middle school principal. So she's relentless.
I have more respect for both my parents are teachers. My mom was elementary principal. Like, you want to talk about a hard job? You want to talk about a thankless job and people who deserve to make more money? Is teachers in education. It's insane.
Yes, it is. But God bless them. Somebody's got to do it. Let's talk about dream recovery. We went down the sleep route, but whether it was the inspiration for starting it, the product line, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing first 8 months, and I think the reason it's kind of fell into place, I started really speaking on sleep probably 5 years ago. And so like the mission has been there just to help people function as good as possible and live basically their best life through the avenue of sleep. And so as I did that more and more, the company is just a product of the environment where I get asked for recommendations or specific, circumstances. What should I use? And I didn't have a great answer. And there were some other products out there, but we're basically trying to take these holistic tools and make them at the highest quality possible. Some of the stuff has been around, been useful, but nobody's really nailed it as far as like quality and thinking about like how things are made and what's the healthiest version of these things, especially the mouth tape. That's by far our best selling product. So that's what we try to do, so, it's been awesome. And it's really cool to see, how much momentum it's gotten, how many people are using it every single night. And it's also wild because when people start mouth taping, I always compare it to like CrossFit for some reason. Mouth tapers just like love to talk about how they mouth tape, and it comes up in conversation so much more than you'd expect. It's pretty wild.
That is so true. I have a small niche of friends that they're true believers. They are preaching it anytime they can.
So yeah, that part was totally unexpected. I actually thought from a marketing perspective, we kind of have a hard time because it's not a visible product. People are sleeping. They're not going to it's just something people aren't going to promote. You would
can't
think.
shoot a selfie video talking with mouth tape.
You can't even talk. Right.
Right.
But word of mouth, like I'll tell you what, it's been unbelievable just how much people really buy into it. But I had a similar experience where like it made such a massive impact on the quality of my sleep that you just want to tell somebody, you're like, if this helped me so much, like I might as well bring it up to somebody else. And that's been really cool. And that's been the best part is like, there's a lot of products, there's ways to make money, but I think it's pretty rare when you can do something that's been really fun, but also getting messages about like how much you've helped people and made them feel better. That's a rare opportunity. And so, I cherish that part of it because like I said, there's a lot of products to be sold just to make money, but those messages make it all worth it. And I think that's really what keeps us going and driving forward and, doing the best we can.
Let's set, I want to make sure we do justice because I don't think mouth taping is so well known, like that we don't need to like, give everyone a little education on.
Yeah.
They probably sort of figured it out with us kind of dancing around it. But if someone's listening, what is it? Where did it come from? What's it benefit? Like, let's break it down.
Yeah. So mouth taping is kind of what it sounds like. Is the idea is you tape your mouth shut while you sleep. And this really got a lot of attention. James Nestor came out with a book called Breath maybe 5 years ago. But, our body is the most efficient and it's the most relaxed when we're breathing through our nose as opposed to our mouth. But, over the last, couple hundred years, about half the population now is breathing through their mouth when they sleep. And there's a lot of negative health repercussions to doing that. So the mouth tape is a way to remind yourself and kind of force yourself to breathe through your nose. And there's a lot of side effects of breathing through your mouth. Obviously, dry mouth, the pH drops substantially, so it's acidic. You have a lot more cavities. Like I said, you're not as relaxed. You're less efficient. Like you don't take in as much oxygen as you would with less effort through your nose. And a lot of times it results in just better sleep. And then I guess the biggest benefit that people enjoy, especially significant others, is it reduces snoring pretty substantially, about 50%. So if somebody, when somebody snores, like their airway is probably collapsing, could be the structure of their face, different orthopedic stuff, but essentially it's forcing that breathing pattern to be through your nose, which a lot of times can, make it more regular and less dysfunctional. And so that's usually, we get a lot of messages from spouses like, oh my gosh, you saved our marriage because my husband used to snore so bad.
So do you cover the entire mouth? Like there's no way to breathe at all.
Yeah.
So you cover up every possible way of breathing.
Yep. So it covers your whole mouth, but actually tomorrow, which when this comes out, it'll already be released, but we're releasing, it's called a dream strip. It's a little vertical one with circles on the end. So that's like an intro, or if somebody that's nervous, because it covers your whole mouth. I get it. The first time I tried it, I started the smaller one. It's kind of freaky. You're like, am I going to be able to breathe? Like, what if I stop breathing? But the best way to go about it is put the tape on, watch a little TV or go for a slow walk, and kind of just realize our body is meant to breathe through our nose. You're totally fine. You're probably doing that majority of the time anyways, and just give yourself some reassurance. But yeah, the vertical strips are great in between because, it's a lot easier if you really try to pop your mouth open, you can, and then you could technically get some airflow on the sides. But yeah, it's as simple as it sounds. The thing that's often overlooked though is like, people are very aware of lotions and toxins and all the stuff they're using on their face and skin now. And then with some of this tape, people don't even think twice about it. And I'm like, this is literally stuck to your face for 8 hours. And you need to be aware of what materials they're using. A lot of cheap, Chinese made products. We ship our adhesive in from a company called Hinkle. It's a US company. It's, used in a lot of medical bandages and burn victims. And it's basically tested to be the healthiest version for something that's going to be on your skin for a long time. So there's a couple things like that. And we use this bamboo silk, and we were like, from a margins perspective, probably cut into our margins more than we would like sometimes, but that stuff always catches up with you, right? Like when you cut corners, eventually, it's going to have repercussions. Like we were talking about earlier, it's like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So it's going to pull from somewhere. So we stay true to like trying to provide the best possible materials. And I think that's why a lot of people have gravitated towards it because, there's a wide spectrum and there's some pretty bad stuff out there.
It also keep you from talking in your sleep, saying anything you shouldn't.
Yeah, you got some demons that are going to come out in a dream and you don't want anybody to hear about it. Yeah. It's also a great way, like if you're in an argument with your spouse, you can be like, put it on. Sorry, I can't talk about it.
Check it out.
Exactly.
Can I apply your mouth tape, honey? I think you should go ahead and get that on for
It's like 11 a.m. You're like, I think you need to start mouth taping.
Could be other purposes for this. Any other product lines?
Todd? So we have some cool stuff coming up this year. We've been working on these nasal strips for about 6 months and trying to come up with something different. I think everyone's been doing about the exact same design and look and function for a while. So we have some pretty. It's turned out to be really, really cool. So I think you'll see those popping up. But honestly, I think my favorite product we have is a silk pillowcase. It's the highest quality silk that you can buy, the highest density, in which the more dense any material is, the less it absorbs oil and moisture. So from your face's perspective, like you get to keep all that oil and moisture that's naturally made, which also in turn cools you down, right? Like sweat naturally cools us down. So when most pillowcases, it absorbs like all the moisture in your skin and makes you feel hotter. So it makes you feel cool. And then we laced it with silver ions, which is similar like Lulu does to make their shirts not smell. So, it stays fresh for a long time. So for me, temperature is always something that messes with my sleep quite a bit. And you don't think of a pillowcase, but your face is really sensitive to the temperature and you lose a lot of heat from your face and head. So it's a really comfortable tool. And it used to be, the idea is like, it's not this like beauty luxury product. It's like, no, like it's for people trying to kick ass and like athletes and just people that are taking their health and wellness seriously. And it's okay to invest in stuff like that. Doesn't make it like a beauty product. It's actually an athletic product.
Yeah.
I've never heard that angle before because I've heard I've silk pillowcases because girls have told me it's better for my skin.
Yeah.
I've never heard it from a performance standpoint. So I think that's absolutely brilliant.
And that's kind of what we're trying to do is be that brand that's allowing it, like trying to put a death to the rise and grind culture, not because we're going to do less, not because the workload is going down, because when you wake up and you feel good, you're taking care of yourself and combine that with having purpose in what you're doing, it doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like a grind when you're not doing something you love and you're sleeping crappy and you're not taking care of yourself. So there shouldn't really be a rise and grind culture. You should wake up feeling good. And that's normal. It's not normal to wake up feeling like you have to drag yourself out of bed every day because you're waking up too early, you're not taking care of yourself, and you're not doing something you love. So I think that's kind of what the vibe is. We're trying to normalize that more.
And, a lot of times I have these epiphanies on this show because we talk about these wellness things that, should be obvious. But we spend, what is it, a third or more of our life in the bed.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we want to stigmatize that it's a luxury or something because you're trying to optimize that recovery time.
It's wild. It literally is the only thing that doesn't make sense in that world of like optimization and hustling getting after it. Just like logically, even though we don't think of it because we've been conditioned that way, it should be the thing you prioritize the most, but somehow that got pinned as lazy, which working out though isn't pinned as like selfish or anything like that. It's about being the best version of yourself. It's like, how is that even in a different category? Like it's literally a very, very similar thing. And I'd argue sleep has much more of an impact on your actual mental health and your ability to have a relationship with somebody. So, you'd have to prioritize that even.
Yes.
That and so much of muscle recovery fitness is sleep. Like,
right.
I've had people tell me like, bro, like when I was trying to put on weight and I was working out heavy, one of the main things they're like, bro, you need to like take naps, like rest, let your body rest, get sleep. I mean, I know I've been sucked in that. When I was in college, 11, Gary V, all those guys, it was hustle. Yeah. And now I'm like, dude, and I got to a breaking point I couldn't sustain at all. Like it's no way to live. And I was talking about it last night with a buddy I want to connect you with. He played in the league for a while too. He's in healthcare now, but we were talking about sleep specifically with some of these guys I'm friends with. Well, they're sleeping 3 hours a night. And I'm like, bro, I'm not a good person with 3 hours of sleep. Right?
No, you're not. That's the thing people don't realize. It's like, it's not about feeling tired. It's literally about your ability. Like, so like when you're underslept, like you can't read people's emotions as well. Like the way that they communicate, like facial expressions, and your facial expressions change. Like it's not just you feeling tired. It's honestly at the bottom of the totem pole as far as side effects go from undersleeping. That's like very surface level. It's mostly subconscious things like reaction time, decision making, cognitive function. Like they did a study. They had people sleep chronically underslept. So one group slept 2 hours, 1 4, 1 6, and 1 8. That's how much time they're allowed in bed. As you can guess, like the longer time went on, the worse and worse their decision-making and cognitive function got, right? And the less they slept, the faster that it got pretty poor. But what was wild is as time went on, people's perception of their decision-making flattened out, meaning they thought they were performing at a high level. They thought their reaction time was good. They thought their cognitive function was good, but they just got used to being chronically underslept, but their actual performance continued to decrease, continued to get worse and worse. They just didn't feel like they were getting worse and worse. So when people are only sleeping 3 hours a night, the reason they don't think it's affecting them is because you lose your perspective of your decision-making. The decision-making continues to decline. You just don't realize it, which is honestly the worst place to be. Like, you're performing worse, but you don't know it. Like, at least if I'm going to be bad on one night's poor sleep, I want to have an idea that that's happening, and at least you can kind of like hedge for it. But man, like, you just lose touch of reality in a way.
Yeah, your normal gets thrown off, like your
Definitely.
baseline.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Nothing worse than that. For people thinking about like dream recovery and stuff, I know we'll get it at the end, but website and all that stuff, where's those links at?
Yeah. Dreamrecovery.io. That's our website. Yeah. If you search it on Google, it should pop up. Right now it's a battle. Amazon banned all mouth tape because people are using sketchy material and stuff like that. So trying to get on there, but it's just been an uphill battle. So other products are on there, like sleep masks and pillowcases, and nasal strips will be out there. But mostly just direct to consumer from our website.
Where's everything headed, Todd? You got a lot, irons in the fire with dream recovery, your coaching, and considering other things. So like, what's the future hold?
Yeah. I mean, dream recovery is definitely my main focus right now. I think like we're going to try to own the bedroom as much as we can in whatever sense that's going to be. So eventually roll out products in every category. Hopefully, we'll have a pillow in the fall, and then looking at some type of mattress and the evolution of really anything that you're going to need long-term to have the optimal night's sleep. So, we'll probably stay away from technology for the most part, and we'll have partners, but I think the sleep world, I think the ceiling is very high. And I think there's a lot to be done there, not only from a product and business perspective, but from a normalization, like I was talking about, like a mindset perspective. I think people are starting to realize it, but there's a lot of high achievers out there, people trying to do big things that don't realize how high they could go because they have an ankle around their weight that's lack of sleep.
Well, I own recoverycon.com, and we're eventually going to throw a recovery party,
That'd be sick.
We need to put our heads together for that. That'd be
definitely
fun.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. And any final thoughts, Chris, here as we close out with Todd?
I'm thinking, keep me posted when you guys drop a bathrobe and some slippers. I'm your guy. Come out with a spilled bathrobe.
That'd be pretty sick. I haven't thought about that, but bathrobe would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only weird thing is with a silk bathrobe is it doesn't absorb moisture. So it would just be like,
you're dripping water.
It would just kind of sit on you.
You go with the terry cloth then.
Yeah,
I trust your R&D department to come up with that.
Yeah, I got you. We'll figure something out.
Polyester. We don't need any hormone disruptors.
None of that.
Todd, where can everybody keep up with you personally? I know we mentioned the recovery site, but with you personally and everything else.
Yeah. I'm most active on Instagram. It's Todd Anderson 42, but and I do love to help people. So if anyone has any specific questions, I try to get back to messages as much as I can. And that's kind of like my purpose. So feel free to reach out.
Cool, man. We love the vibe, brother.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, you know to find us, Chris and Ryan Alford. We're both all over Instagram as well. Chris Broby Hansen at Ryan Alford, and we'll see you next time. The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe